I watched all 5 episodes of SpongeBob's first crossover called the Tidal Zone, and honestly, while harmless, was a waste of hype. We're gonna go through all 5 episodes, going from the best and worst episode, and along the way, talking about the episodes with the biggest wasted potential, the episode that exposes the biggest flaw in this entire crossover, and the most confusing one. Let's get to the most important question. Does the Patrick Star Show attract new fans who would have otherwise not watched any of these SpongeBob shows? I don't think so. It really confuses me what the Patrick Star Show brings to the table. Shrinking Star is basically the misadventures of Patrick and his family being shrunk down because of Patrick's stupidity. Are there any high stakes? Do we learn anything new about these characters? Are there any moments of comedy that I can highlight? The answers are no, and haha. No. The entire episode is them running away from their grandfather because he mistakes them for bugs. Patrick is making the exact same eating too much and being dumb jokes as he did in the original series. His sister is just the director, full stop, and his parents are practically indistinguishable in terms of personality. You can reverse the dialogue between them and I bet no one would have noticed. Sure, some of the locations look very nice and the voice actors are doing amazingly, but all of that gets flushed down the toilet when you solve the episode with them just escaping just because, despite being shrunk down to the microscopic level.
I think there's a way out of here.
Look, we're home.
And that's how they fix the problem. They just unshrink. Why didn't they do that already? Honestly, if you want to see a fun episode that revolves around shrinking things down, just go and watch Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 4 from the OG show. It has better comedy, the main character actually has remorse for what he did, which makes him more likable, and the show didn't feel like I was watching an AI bot try to replicate a SpongeBob episode. Literally, W for Wumbo is a better joke than anything the Patrick Star Show has ever done. That episode couldn't even touch what I think is the best episode of the crossover. Welcome to Binary Bottom. That episode is about nothing. You're just watching SpongeBob run around as a robot. So why do I call this the best episode? Where the writers have ran out of ideas, the artists and voice actors are in their prime. I love the aesthetic of this Bikini Bottom, and I think the artists and animators did a fantastic job coming up with different ways to take what we know as the Bikini Bottom and give it a futuristic technological spin. I found the Krabby Battery to be a great location, one of my favorite flips of a location I've seen in a long while. It was a great touch to have Karen be one of the only organic life forms. Even the minor characters like Larry looks really cool in this form. However, it's not just the artists and animators. Like I said, the voice actors seem like they're having a blast in this episode.
Who disturbs the sacred dome of Sandroid? I'll hog-tie your actuators!
Now you're probably asking, what does Patrick shrinking his family and SpongeBob running around in a futuristic Bikini Bottom have to do with each other? Why is this a crossover?
Lagoon? What happened to Goo Lagoon?
That's because that's the crossover. Seeing Grandpat go through different worlds to find his own. The episodes have nothing to do with each other, don't come together to make a better experience, and don't even really have plots except for maybe 2. Outside of how it looks and how it sounds, Welcome to Binary Bottom offers very little outside of just slapstick humor for 90% of the episode and an attempt to appeal to older fans by placing references that they think they'll go crazy about, adding it to their wiki pages. Honestly, I wish they did something more unique with this adventure, with this backdrop. We've seen Squidward go through torture in his own world. What makes this worth a watch?
I am going to have to live next to that.
Oh wow, a Squidward suicide joke. You know, time to get really angry about this. Bro, it's not 2013 anymore, no one cares. Now we're getting to the episodes that exposes the biggest flaw in the writing of SpongeBob across all 3 episodes. The switch glitch, the solo Camp Coral episode. After a few rewatches, I probably warmed up to this episode the best because of all of the episodes in the crossover. This one, I can see the story, I can see the point of it. The story is, what if Karen and Patrick swapped places? Is it the most original? No, but it doesn't have to be. It's something that we haven't seen, and it's something that if you just take the time to work with, it can be very good and it can be very memorable. So why isn't this the best episode? Easy. Because beyond the interesting idea, it's just slapstick for about 90% of it, and that's the fundamental flaw of this new era of SpongeBob. Just because you animate the slapstick more expressively expressively than you did in seasons 5 to 9 doesn't mean that you spamming the same joke will magically work now. I don't know who needs to hear this, but old SpongeBob was not just slapstick. We felt for Squidward's regret in Fools in April, showing that these characters have more emotions than happiness and pain. We laughed twice as hard, learning about the hidden jokes when we grow older.
Doubloons! Don't drop them.
Showing that the episodes age gracefully, revealing the layers of comedy woven into it. We felt the pain SpongeBob went through dealing with an annoying Squidward in Can You Spare a Dime, showing that even though SpongeBob is a happy character, he's not unrealistic and understands when someone is being annoying. Camp Coral has none of this. Patrick and Karen's body is just Patrick being a dumb computer for 11 minutes. But it's even worse because the entire joke is just about watching the different ways the animators can break Plankton apart physically. It's a shame because Doug Lawrence absolutely kills the voice delivery for these underwhelming plots. Like, why not let Plankton be more of a villain in this episode? Now granted, Karen and Patrick's body is better, but it gets a little weird when she experiences pain and wants more?
Pain! Fascinating. Ooh, come on! Kick me for more pain!
Just spitballing ideas here. What if Patrick as Karen has the dumbest invention ideas for Plankton, but the twist is they all work, and it leads into Plankton having this newfound appreciation for what he thinks is Karen? What if you made Sandy like just super jealous at Karen and Patrick's body, thinking that Patrick is trying to take her spot as the smartest person at Camp Coral? What if Mr. Krabs, the camp counselor by the way, was doing a test of everyone's strength and agility and all of that, and Karen and Patrick's body had to learn how to use legs, and we could kind of see that sort of struggle. Anytime you see me talking negatively about modern SpongeBob, at least acknowledge that I'm putting my money where my mouth is to show how better these episodes can be by throwing my ideas on the table. In fact, bro, let's go even further. If enough of you are interested, I'm even down to put together an entire how I'd write and take one of the 3 episode concepts I just said and actually storyboard the entire thing with my art team just to prove that it's not hard to make a good SpongeBob episode. There's just no incentive to write good episodes because it makes a bunch of money regardless. Speaking of great ideas, You're Gonna Pay Phone had an amazing idea, and guess what? They wasted it. Mr. Krabs, while chasing a quarter, ends up taking a cursed payphone to the Krusty Krab. This could have been a great idea. Instead, the entire episode is just Mr. Krabs does something generous when hypnotized and reverses it when he's out of that trance. Does this lead into any funny Mr. Krabs' cheap jokes? No. Does this lead into Mr. Krabs doing any funny jokes at all, even with SpongeBob or Squidward? No. Does this lead into Mr. Krabs, I don't know, at the very least investigating the source of the cursed payphone? Well, actually, yes. He finds there's a tiny demon in the payphone that's been controlling him for the majority of the episode. You may think that that leads into like a big battle or something. You're being way too creative. This demon, who's been making Mr. Krabs' life hell, doing heinous acts that go against his philosophy of making money and not being generous at all, asks for money for a bus.
I'm free!
Hey kid, lend me a quarter for the bus.
Sure thing, Mr. Demon.
Riveting. And let me be super clear, because people assume the wrong things from the animation community. I think the staff that works on SpongeBob, very talented people, because a lot of those people are the same people who've been working on it for years, some of them since the show started. In fact, I admire the team, and I can 100% empathize and put myself in their shoes, being spread across 3 different shows and having to put on 3 different hats to come up with 3 different ideas, 3 times the more ideas than you would usually have to. I can totally see myself in that environment, being a dry well of ideas if I had to spread it across 3 shows. So when I go hard at the writing, never hate towards them, never at all, and I never condone it from anyone else, but disappointment in how it's all handled. However, I'm not gonna shed a single tear for SpongeBob, the cartoon that's been too big to fail on Nickelodeon, the cartoon that's basically been the standard, bringing an entire ocean of money to the company every year. How about bring in more people? Split the team so that each show has a tiny group of veterans working on it, and you have new people who are bringing in the new ideas, and the veterans filter out and mold the ideas to fit into the SpongeBob aesthetic. I bet we get better ideas than this last episode. But before we get to the worst episode, I want to give a big thanks to everyone in the community who participated in the Q&A earlier. And as promised, this was the most interesting question. Yes, I'm branching out to more stuff. I really hope that you guys stay along the journey. And this was the funniest question. Don't worry, man. I'm not going anywhere. The last episode. A skin wrinkle in time. It's the worst episode of the crossover. Even though most of these episodes are basically nothing, I'd rather you do nothing than for you to farm references.
Who lives in a pineapple under the sea? Over the yellow
It's a super short episode, no longer than 4 minutes I think, of Grandpat just going through references. We get a reference to the theme song, we get a reference to Mystery the Seahorse. SpongeBob Birthday Blowout, a literal celebration of the character and the show, did not have as much appeals to references as this crossover. All of this is just noise. There's not even an adventure to get invested in because, like with the Patrick Star Show, there's no logical A to B type of writing. He just solves it. This entire crossover is riddled with wasted ideas, an obnoxious amount of slapstick, and a desperate attempt at referencing old SpongeBob. But you know what? I guess it could be worse. I could be playing a game where I shoot Patrick to gain mayonnaise.